Hello there. In this video I'm going to explain what it is you're going to actually do on this particular course, and show you the various lessons that you're actually going to work through and show you the objects you're going to create. So the course is Jewellery Design and 3D Printing using Blender 2.9 Parametric Smart Objects. And if I just click to go on to the next screen, one of the things we're going to explain is how you can create your own little charm bracelets like these ones here. Now these are actually printed in plastic and they're printed on a machine like the one at the bottom here, which is what's called an FDM printer, and these are printed in PLA, polylactic acid plastic. Typical price for a machine like this can be anything from $150 upwards. You can pay several $1,000s, but these are printed on this one, and I think they're pretty good, to be quite honest. Another type of printer that you could buy if you want to actually create silver and gold jewellery, you're going to need to print in wax. And so this is an example of a wax printer. This is a digital light projector, DLP 3D printer. And basically it's got a smartphone screen under here, and light is shone through to create the objects here from a wax resin. So we'll talk about that. So here are some examples of 3D printed parts that have been produced on the two machines that you've just seen there. In this particular course, you will in fact be producing these earrings here. These are just printed in plastic, and the red ones are in wax, and these ones here are in metal. Now obviously the other objects are not something that's going to be covered on this course, but it is interesting to appreciate, if I just go to the next slide, that when you create something in 3D printing, so for example, if you look very closely, this charm here is exactly the same design as this pendant here, and exactly the same design as this coaster for putting your coffee cup on. So the skills that you learn in this course are transferable. And most of the items on here, there's a few exceptions, these are metal, but most of the items here are printed in either plastic or resin on the two printers that I've just shown you. And so what are you going to do on the course? Well, the first real lesson, if you like, after this one is we're going to teach you how to set up the user interface and install a number of add-ons that you need for this course, including Jewelcraft and the Fluid Designer assets, plus some others. So the software you're going to use is called Blender 2.9, and say we're going to customize it and make it specific to 3D printing. So we'll change the unit scale down to 0.001, in other words millimeters. We'll show you how to install the Jewelcraft add-on, which is this window here, and the Booltron add-on. And we'll also install the Fluid Designer assets, which are these icons here and the ones over in the left-hand panel. And we'll also install this asset library here, which is called PyClone, which you can just drag and drop objects onto the workspace. So that's what you'll do in the first real lesson after this. We'll then talk about the difference between mesh objects and curves, in other words, parametric smart objects. We prefer to call curves parametric smart objects. And why it is on this course that we're going to focus on using curves. We're not going to show you how to design using meshes. We're going to do it using curves, which is a lot easier. So what's the difference between curves and meshes? Well, this is what a mesh looks like, and as you can see, it's quite complicated. These are 2D and 3D curves. Now, when these are converted to meshes, they're actually very complicated, but we'll show you just how easy it is to create these in Blender. And the difference between the 2D and the 3D curves is 2D curves are really best for engraving, in other words, cutting into an object. 3D curves are really good for just joining them together. You can just drop these objects, you can drag and drop them onto the workspace, join loads of them together and get much more complicated finished products. So we're going to then go on to show you how to create your own simple personalized earring and pendant just by joining parametric smart objects together. And what you're going to do is to create this earring and this pendant, And essentially the earring is made up of a cross, which is this object here, a heart object, which is this object. It's personalised in this case with the letter A, a Harrington font A, and then a ring at the top, or finding as it's called. And what we'll do is we'll show you how you can change the thickness from this, which is kind of the default thickness, which is 1 millimetre across at the top and 2 millimetres deep, down to 0.7 millimetres by 0.7 millimetres. And the advantage of doing that is that you can change the weight, and so this would be quite heavy, too heavy for wearing as an earring, whereas this object would be fine as an earring if we printed it in silver. So we'll create those objects. We'll then talk about how you can repair objects in Netfabb Basic. Now, Netfabb Basic is a completely separate application, and I'll just quickly flip over to it. So this is what Netfabb Basic looks like, and at the moment there's this Enipa earring displayed on it, and we're going to show you how to create this Enipa earring, again from Parametric Smart Objects. And Netfabb Basic is a vital tool. We must run repair in Netfabb Basic. If we don't repair objects, they won't be 3D printable, and I'm just going through the procedure now to repair it, and apply the repair and remove the old part. And that's it. That's all you actually need to do in Netfabb Basic, apart from import it and export it. But an absolutely vital tool to be using. So we'll show you how to use Netfabb Basic. I've just shown you. It's as simple as that. And then we'll also talk about the difference between Cura and Chitterbox slicers, and how you can upload files to online stores such as Shapeways. So here's the printer that I showed you before that prints in plastic, and we would use something like Cura, which is the application that's shown here, which is also free. You can download that free. That's used as the slicer, which you need to do before you send your files to the 3D printer. Essentially, there's a number of stages. You have to design your file. You have to save it as an OBJ file and run it through Netfabb Basic, which is what I've just shown you. And then after you've repaired your file, you run it through Cura or Chitterbox over on the right here. Run it through Cura and then send it to your printer. So there are a number of stages, but some of them just don't take very long, as I've just shown you with Netfabb Basic. So Cura is the one we use for FDM printers. Chitterbox over here is when we're printing in wax rather than plastic. And if you don't want to buy either of these printers, we'll show you that you can just go to Shapeways, upload your OBJ file and get your objects printed there and delivered anywhere in the world. We'll then show you how you can use Jewelcraft to check the weight of an object. Weight is important if you're trying to sell things. But more important from our point of view in this course is if you want an earring, you need to keep the weight down, and we can use Jewelcraft add-on to actually determine the weight of an object. So this is the pendant that you'll create, and you'll also create an earring version of it. What this shows you is the weight in silver is 5.67 grams. And we'll also check the weight in silver for the earring, which is the same basic shape as this, just thinner, and you can compare the two. So we'll show you how to calculate the weight of an object. Then we'll show you how you can create your own simple 3D parametric smart objects. And we're going to show you a couple of different ways of doing that. And the first one is by using a JPEG or a PNG image. So what we've got on here is this is a parametric smart object that you'll create in this course. It's actually called a Wiccan time symbol, and it's basically created by having an image like this one here, it's actually hidden behind this shape, not down in the corner here. You hide it behind this shape and literally just put objects on top of it and join them all up, and you can then create your 3D parametric smart objects, which you can save in the asset library, and we'll show you how to do that. And then we'll go on to create a simple 2D parametric smart object, and we're going to show you how you can create this dove. And again, essentially behind the dove is a picture of it, and we will draw around the picture of it and create a 2D smart object. So the one I've just shown you previously, the Wick and Time one, is a 3D smart object. The dove we're going to create as a 2D smart object by literally just drawing around an image in the background. Now there is a more sophisticated and to be honest, a better way of doing it than drawing it yourself, and that is that there's an application called Inkscape, and we'll show you how you can take your JPEG image. So we start off with an image of a dove. You can import it into Inkscape, and Inkscape will change it from a picture to a curve. This is a curve. And then when we import it into Blender, we can create a 2D parametric smart object from our original image and from our curve. And we can create a 3D parametric smart object as well. So we'll show you how to do that using Inkscape, which again is free software. We'll then show you how to create a happy emoji face using 2D curves. Okay, so we're going to create this object here, and essentially this is a parametric smart object on the outside, just a simple cylinder in this case, or circle in this case, and a couple of three parametric smart objects on the inside. And by joining 2D curves together, you can punch a hole through objects, a little bit like engraving. So we'll show you how you can create your own emoji face. And in the asset library, there's lots of emoji faces, and you can have a go at doing some other ones yourself. Then what we'll do is we'll show you how to actually take your parametric smart object and add a hole or a ring to it so that you can put a chain through. In other words, turn your parametric smart object into a piece of jewellery. Okay, so the dove, this is the dove that you will create in one of the earlier lessons. By punching a hole through it, you can then turn this into a piece of jewellery, because you can then join it to a charm bracelet or put a chain through it and have it as a pendant. And the same thing for a 3D parametric smart object. So we add the ring here slightly differently to the 2D parametric smart object as we do to the 3D one, slightly different. But we'll show you how to do that. Then we'll show you how you can create an engraved pendant using your own simple parametric smart object. And in this instance, we're going to use the dove. So we're going to create this disc and then use the dove as the parametric smart object. And the difference between this and the ones previously is we're not going to punch the hole all the way through. We're only going to go halfway through the object here. So that's a slightly different approach. So we're going to create this dove pendant where it's only engraved halfway through the disc. And then we're going to show you how to create an N per curve necklace using the array command. It looks incredibly complicated. We'll show you how you can actually create something like this literally in minutes. Just a few minutes by using a 3D smart object called an N per curve. And what we're going to do is use what's called the array command, which just means that we're going to replicate the pattern. And that's all this is. There's one simple pattern here that's replicated across 4 times and up twice. And then a couple of rings added to the end. Unbelievably simple to produce that, I promise you. Then we're going to create the N per curve. And we saw that a few minutes ago when I showed you Netfabb Basics. I'm going to show you how you can create these N per curve earrings using the array command and rotating objects. Then we're going to show you how to create a tapered earring using proportional editing. So we're going to show you how you can create these earrings. Now they're tapered. In other words, at the top they're much thinner than they are at the bottom. So we're going to start off with a parametric smart object, in this case just the capital letter A. Now it could be your initials if you're called if your initials are B or C or D. We'll show you how you can create a tapered object and create some font earrings. And you're not limited just the English language. Here are in Korean, Russian, Arabic, Hindi, and some of these fonts are on the system. We're then also going to show you how you can create a personalized necklace using proportional editing. And I'm assuming that somebody's called Alison. So what we're going to do is to show you how you can create this necklace here. We're going to do this one in the top left-hand corner, but as you can see, the others are quite similar to it. So we'll show you how to use proportional editing to distort it like this and to make it look good, basically, or aesthetically pleasing. Then we're going to show you a couple of lessons using jewel craft. So we're going to show you how you can add a single gem to a font using the cutter tool in jewel craft. So these are some fonts, in fact. This is a Korean font down here. This over here is Harrington font, so this is actually the letter C of the alphabet. And there's some Saudi fonts, Hindi fonts. And what we've done is we've just created a little cylinder at the bottom with a hole in it, which will take a 5mm cubic zirconia or a diamond gem. I would suggest you do cubic zirconia to start off with, and we're going to suggest that in this instance you're going to glue it into it. So we'll show you how you can create this using jewel craft. And in the panel at the top here, I've actually printed off the Harrington font, this one, in plastic, and then put a little cubic zirconia in it. So I mean the total cost of actually making this earring is about 12 or 13 pence in English money, maybe 20 cents in US dollars, in plastic that is. We're then going to show you how you can create a personalized font with a gem in it using the prong tool and the cutter tool in jewel craft. So a little bit similar to before. This is the same Korean font we would have done in the previous one. The only difference is we're going to put in some prongs, that's these grey bits here, and assume that the jewel that you're going to push in, you're going to fit, is you push it into between the prongs. So we don't use glue to push it to join the gem to the font. We're going to push it in. So that's in jewel craft. And then the last one we're going to do is to show you how you can add a string of gems to a 3D heart curve object. So we're going to use this parametric smart object here, which is a heart, and we're going to show you how you can add multiple gems and punch holes through it so that the gems will fit into it. So that's essentially it. That's what you're going to be doing on this course, and you're going to do it all in Blender 2.9, which you can download free from the internet. So that's it for this introduction video. Hope you enjoy the course.